test anyone who was willing to go for a victory royale in that game. You got to appreciate that. One thing I did notice about Clix and Higgs' early game was that they seemed to be very well off on Surge in comparison to a lot of the other top teams we tuned in with. Now, this could be due to zone factors. It could be due to other things. We'll see, though, Jacob. They can keep it up.
Yeah, we saw a little bit from Peterbot and Boyo, a little bit from Agers and Ritual, that the Surge plan may not have been going according to usual. But game 2 is here, plenty of time to change it up, so let's jump into it.
With game 2 now to be written, once again, I continue to bring our focus on top 13, that land qualification being the most important part of this entire thing. Obviously, winning a championship is fantastic. However, continue to keep pace, playing as well as we saw some of our favorites do, is exactly what we want as we start leading our way towards Germany.
Seeing if anything kind of switches up too much here. This is one of those spots we saw was going to be possibly double contested, triple contested, but this is the thing, when FNCS does roll around, those drops only mean so much because, hey, you might have a little bit of an inkling, you might want to drop somewhere else, maybe you play roulette to try to keep teams surprised just a little bit. G-Money Magma got a whole range of space uncontested. Down low towards the south is going to be another team, and right towards the north at Dark Dominion is going to be Cold and Rapid. So even though they have space in this early game monster, it doesn't mean it's always going to stay that way.
Yeah, I saw in the feed, really curious about what happened there with Paper. Maybe we can get a highlight from the House of Sales or something like that, but we'll catch up. A lot of fall damage happening all weekend long. We've just kind of seen it go time and time again. But G-Monster Magma, you can see splitting loot across one another as well, throwing heals, etc. Now we jump in with 7 names and Tex here, sitting above the fight that's about to go down with Noisy and his duo down low. And then you have this lurking team here to the north in the Aviv.
Studios, Aviv doesn't usually travel too far away from his drop spot. Almost everything you need, from brick, metal, wood, and even a mending machine. For Naves and Teeks kind of landing in the open, split drop. Got to make sure not to get pushed. Teeks looked like he was almost getting approached there for a moment. And this is kind of an interesting decision for Teeks and Naves in this split area because they don't really have a lot of extra heals. They don't have a ton of materials. And now they have to go elsewhere. But you can see how contested the surrounding land it actually is. This one is not going to be an easy early game for Teeks and his duo.
Things are going to settle out there. A little bit positive damage, though. That's all you can really hope for. Meanwhile, back to Irvin Vena. As we know, they take the north side of the boulevard. Then you have the Sanctuary having a full-on fight. As we jump in, it ends. Void, Zifta there. Finish this one up pretty quickly. They have attracted a couple other duos here to the sounds of the battle, but not near close enough to go ahead and jump in and add any influence. So nice little 8-point swing here for Voids and Zifta.
Counting right now, around 12 teams, Monster, just land on that bottom right quadrant of the map. Basically from the east side of Battlewood to around the north side of the new Sanctuary, and that's over 10% of the actual lobby, maybe even close to 20, so you can see how stacked that edge of the zone actually is. What makes it hard to rotate into the north, like you actually see it kind of shifting the zone, forcing everybody towards the top side of the map. Chance and Tyler, they went ahead and left their contested drop early on, maybe getting some loot just to get what they're missing in their loadout. It's kind of a necessary evil when you're going ahead and triple contesting the south side of Battlewood Boulevard.
Back on over Peterbot. Boyo here. Scribbly Shores all to themselves. Not a soul in sight either. Just look at that map. No one looking to come close to their territory right now. Last game though, Boyo continuing to just keep that tension on the rest of the lobby. We've seen him, for whatever reason or another, really shine in the heats, and now shining to start things off here for the game 1, the grand finals. But one thing's for certain, Peterbot, Boyo, you start to take away a big lead on them, they're gonna make sure they influence the lobby to try to fight back as they want to play for that championship.
Yeah, one of the few teams I feel like that can single-handedly close the gap with the eliminations. We're probably waiting until their back is up against the wall. Those there in Isho, familiar fight here. North side of the map with the changes from Treetop Terrace going out and this spot kind of replacing it. Most of the loot is a little bit more focused towards the north side, which kind of causes a little bit more contested fights rather than splitting it. So for Dozer and Ishu, they've been landing here almost all season long, even throughout the changes. It'd be crazy to think they would leave anytime soon, especially with finals here. So for Raiden, CDZ, they're having a pretty good run from the play-ins to the heats till here. They just need to keep that momentum on their side against a team like Dozer and Ishu, who have also been playing pretty consistent in Division Cups and so on.
Dozer and Ishu are experienced as well, so Raven and CDZ just have to take note, learn from their previous games, but with this Venno curve lurking on Electro and Oak. Electro and Oak seem to feel like something is up, though. They're fully based down. They might have heard or caught some visual cues here, hence the waiting. Venno and Curve won't be able to stay here much longer. They will have to start healing here soon. In the feed, I do think CDZ found elimination, so we'll have to catch that update here in a second. What do you think's happening here?
Oh, this takes a lot of patience from Venno and Curve. They're camping the mending machine right there. They're hoping that they kind of lost Electro and Ult. Yep, just like this. They peek through. They try to access the mending machine. First shot's going to be fired, which is an important amount of damage. You said it yourself. Curve and Venno have not healed just yet. Full shield, but it's the HP that is drastic here. Curve using the splashes by himself. Not sure what Venno has on the other side, but they're keeping pressure onto Ult, not letting him try and heal up. And even though Venno just took a second there to heal up, it's that second of difference that allowed for Curve to get pushed off of his current position, take some damage, and almost reset the fight.
Yeah, I was going to say, he was definitely limited on heals, so they have to get those pieces there, but this fight's not going to end here now. Venno, Curve already have a little bit of a damage advantage in the exchange, but they were trying to hope to secure those elims. This is that fight with CDZ and Raven, so what they learned from the last game is we got to finish this one up quickly. Once we attack, we got to finish the job, and it looks like CDZ and Raven do just that. And that's going to be their first big 8 points earned here in the finals. They can say they've done more than some as far as the finals appearance goes, and let's see if they can keep it up. Meanwhile, Venno and Curve pushing aggressively to finish the battle like we knew they would. They do come out successful.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say it for CDZ and Raven. I think in a good way, they've been the biggest refresh and the biggest surprise to competitive this season. And honestly, I hope they continue to show off and show out as one of the new teams. We always talk about the new guard. Well, this is a crucial chance here because we could see a first-time finalist qualify to the Summit LAN. I think it said something about like 78 players are trying to qualify for their first LAN. And if the math just checks out, right, Monster? There are 13 spots up for grabs. That means 26 players will go to the Summit LAN. And if 78 players are trying to go to the first, that means roughly 2 to 4 players, no matter what happens here, will qualify for their first LAN in Fortnite. Exciting times.
Yep, the possibility is definitely there. I think 13 spots is very generous. Very generous. You know, most finals lobbies, when you look at the overall leaderboards, you know, you think like, oh, okay, you can drop a game or two each day and still be up towards the top 10. So that amount of grace and consistency, for sure, a new team can just have their moment here this weekend and see their way straight to the finals. It happens every year. We'll just see if it's going to be Raven and CDZ this time around. Threats and Veer, though, making do with their opportunity right now. Seem to be positioned pretty well. Last game, they were, of course, making it just past that mid-game now. Early game looking relatively decent for Muzz and Sphinx. Great end game showing from their side. Obviously, a second place. Nothing to scoff at. But one thing's for certain, catching storm sickness is one sad way to go out at the end.
Yeah, they're one of the teams that they did deal a good amount of damage overall throughout the course. Muzz in game one had the most damage dealt out of every individual player in the game. Just goes to show that they're really just kind of building that storm surge cushion. No matter if they're positioned high up on a mountain, not far away from their drop, or here where you'd think it's kind of disadvantageous to box up next to one of those mountains, they are very, very calculated about how they approach each and every one of these zones, whether if it max pulls far away, or kind of goes and turns in their favor. They're ready for whatever comes their way. And this could be another team that's a very, very similar case, especially to start the year. We had Rapid. No matter who he teamed with, it seemed like he could not be stopped. Even in the solo finals competition, Rapid was at the top of the leaderboard. And Monster, let me tell you, when Rapid was reading zones like he knew where it was going to go 100%, he was almost never wrong. And now you bring that to duos when you have Cold by your side. So if you have somebody that can lead the charge, open up opportunities for someone like Cold, Cold, this could be another one of our big contenders this weekend.
Yeah, Rapid and Cold now on teams Twisted Minds. You know, looking back to Globals, I remember the last organization that he was on, you know, the leadership over there was telling me, like, Monster, keep an eye out on this guy. I'm telling you, Rapid is next up. And look, he's only continuing to do better and bigger things now leading into this first major. You know, it doesn't get any bigger than working with one of the best on the region. Visuals and Braids, though, talk about a way to start their tournament run off. You know, this is not a new guard team. This is an experienced duo here that has been playing side by side for quite a few years now, it looks like. And just really nice to see them start this off so strong.
And rightfully so, because you not only throughout the heats, but the last chance qualifier, that high ground, especially in the win in your in type format, was so contested with so many teams. So it's almost like great heads up play for Visuals and Braids. Said, you guys want high ground, you guys can fight for it. We'll control the low ground here. And while everybody was fighting for high grounds, teams that gave it up, they went down low and were in shambles. Visuals and Braids, cool as a cucumber, they made sure to make that game one count. And like you said, you can slip up on a few games, but it really plays an impact on how you get to play day number 2, whether you're having to go full aggressive to catch up on the points or just getting to have business as usual if you're on the top of the leaderboard.
Once Neko in a bit of a skirmish against Listen there and his duo, but we have to back off, being a little bit more passive. Don't want to get caught too long in the storm here now. You can see Aloe and Listen. Not too sure if the opponent's actually backed out of the fight just yet, so keeping that defensive stance. Then you have Reet and Cooper on the other side. Much different scenario here. No one in sight. Opting to kind of live in the storm now before just super padding out here.
I like when you say that, the super pad. The super pad. If you guys don't know, if you guys are tuning in, maybe you missed play-ins, heats, and the last chance qualifier. There are 2 launch pads at the north side of the map, this being one of them. On its own, Monster, it takes you higher and farther than regular launch pads. Now you combine that with the fizz, now you combine that with the shock grenade, you see how high you actually go. In some cases, you're out of render distance. Teams literally can't even see you to get those shots, and you're going to show in game number 1, they kind of rotated in early. They used that launch pad, they went towards the south. This time around, they're taking a slower approach, knowing that there's different mountain ranges and edges that they can access.
Yeah, and they only earned 6 points in game 1, so they have a lot of space to make up for. You looked at anyone's kind of lobby list of who's going to perform up towards the top. Reet is surely in that conversation. He's done it before. He did it last year. Let's see if they can pick up the pace now for Major 1. Now, of the few games you can kind of dud out, having one down after game 1 is a little rough. But it's not over just yet. Veno Curve, though, on the other side. Already 2 elims. Still, once again, going from machine to machine now, just trying to stick to that same strategy. I mean, this is true and trusty, right? Look, you have G Monster Magma here. He's about to start medkitting. They're actually exposed.
Oh, just a quick peek. Veno and Curve. This time around, you saw they kind of made a play similar to this in that last game. They made sure to heal up first, but now they have quick access to the vending machine. The patchups are in with Magma down. G-Money looks like he's going for a revive, but he might end up in that same situation. But luckily, Curve goes up and over, forces him down into the hand of Veno, where they're able to clean up that elimination. They fell asleep for just a second too long, and Curve and Veno strike, get the elimination, and build that cushion for Storm Surge, almost 700 above that threshold.
They're just playing so good right now. I'd probably bet that they're the furthest ahead when it comes to overall Surge right now. And their execution just couldn't be better on those 2 ambushes that they set up.
Yep.
Veno playing as great as ever. Obviously, coming from EU to NA, you have a lot to prove. That huge investment in yourself, right, to come on over and do the thing here on the region. And then doing it with someone like Curve. Hasn't really had that much of a chance to show how good of a player he could be, right? We've seen him play with the folks like Reet and a few other top tiers, but Veno, I would say, is definitely amongst the most elite of his duo options so far.
Yeah, I think everybody's quite pleasantly surprised. I want to give a huge shout out to Mom and Pop Curve, really believing in their son and just allowing him to follow this dream. of not only just playing and competing in Fortnite, but a chance to be one of the best players in Fortnite. They get to travel the world if they're able to qualify here inside of the top 13. When we talk about history being on one team side, Acorn has that Major 1 history. I think you called it the Major 1 magic. I like that. So if Acorn can pull it off here, definitely would be a magician. 38 points in game number 1. So already a slow start for them, but you can see with the zone pulling on over toward the north side of the map, almost 300 above the damage threshold. They're just taking it one step at a time.
They're looking good. Love the positioning here on the bottom edge of that mountain. They should have no resistance from any other team. And then they go with the full metal base, so that's just showing us they're not looking to move anytime soon. Jumping on over to Clicks Higgs. Ager's Ritual side to side here. Clicks and Higgs.
To be
A
done.
little thorn in their hip, but right now just fishing for opportunity. Nothing available just yet. Mud Sphinx is going to be the first that they put a little attack onto, but Clicks unfortunately misses those shots. And look at this. This is not actually looking too good for Muzz and Sphinx. They're just barely holding on right now.
Yeah, blessing for them to kind of make that quick rotation onto a slower side of the zone, kind of allow them to peek and get a wide variety of options here. The curse is going to be everybody's fully boxed up already in both brick and metal, so it's going to be hard to spray your way through. But they're 142 above that damage threshold, and they're not a team that goes in desperation mode just because they're below the damage threshold, and that's a huge focal point for their game plan. But Peterbot and Boyo, they're just getting sprayed at from multiple teams. They're forced to reposition, having to go lower and lower onto that low ground as they reunite. The spray is not slowing down or stopping just yet. Poyo is barely surviving, less than 50 HP left, and it's not slowing down anytime soon. They're burning through their materials, less than 10 left on Peterbot. He's still trying to scramble around, but not really finding an open opportunity here to get back into this game.
Very smart scramble, though, going back to all that invested metal, trying to find himself a little bit of a safety spot amongst the chaos, and that was all because the teams in his general area needed damage. So they unfortunately found themselves positioned next to all these opponents that needed a ton of damage. They get shot up by the entire lobby, and now they have to find damage themselves. Peterbot at least gets an elimination there, so it's not a zero-sum game, but they are still so far below. Boyo has to go into the box. We've seen him do the impossible before. He gets another set of points, but how much more can he realistically do here?
Yeah, I'm not really feeling too worried, though. We saw what Poyo can do in the heats just to get to this stage, but you got to be careful. Chance does go down. Cold and Rapid just terrorizing those floors, dropping him into the box, and you're kind of see the shakeup that this lobby has right before our very eyes. And this is where we're going into these next couple of zones, Monster. If we go towards the north, the northwest, or even towards the northeast, you better buckle in, because we're going to be in for a roller coaster of emotions. Yes, if we go south, we go down a mountain, but it eases up the pressure from a lot of what these players are facing. And we go towards the northeast. Poyo, I hope you're ready for this ride.
Yeah, this is gonna be crazy. Now, he does still have a couple shockwaves, but with Acorn here to the side, I mean, these are dangerous teams on high ground. Clicks and Higgs already looking out in the distance as well here. Boyo has found himself in so many solo situations this weekend, and he has just performed time in and time out. I feel like we're asking so much of him to keep their team on the standings right now, but hey, he is nearing a top 20. Clicks Higgs have that natural elevation to play with as well. And they are just in the best position right now that we have seen so far as making it into another top positioning endgame here.
And you see Higgs Clicks back-to-back games going for that high ground early, and you see they're focusing not only on the players kind of rotating around, but the ones that are in that fizz mist. Those are the threats to that high ground, the second height. They keep putting down that focus. Muzz and Sphinx might be one of those teams as well. They're not dropping down unless they have to. You see Poyo trying to shockwave off, probably only has one shockwave left in his inventory. You can see only down to 6 builds, and this is where it becomes just a nightmare of a situation for Poyo, but he gets a little bit of a blessing. The mist is there. Sphinx dropping down along with Muzz, trying to control their own destiny as well.
That was crazy. A little mist here to kind of support him, and he's trying to find out, hey, where was that throw? Who can I jump on? Who needs these heals right now? But unfortunately, he doesn't quite find the opportunity there, but just 4 builds. 1 shockwave, so this shock has to be played almost offensively now. Can he get into a situation for a refresher here. Of course, he can find a player there, but doesn't quite find the follow-up. This player's jumping all around him. There goes a missed tag. He's got nothing there, and into the hands of another duo. That opponent goes, so no refresh for him.
And
Down
Peter
he falls
die.
in the top 18.
My God.
Getting back to the wide view, you have Clicks and Higgs on high ground. Acorn bolts, sizing up the second layer. Cold and Rapid, front side of the low ground, just playing for an ultimate end.
Yeah, and for Acorn and Bolts, they wait till the last second. They think you're out of builds, but Muzz gets in the box, ends up with 1 elimination. Wager sends him right back to the lobby. And this goes to show we're in second place there in the first game, kind of going down relatively early here. Cold, along with Rapid, they're controlling one side. You see Venom and Curve controlling the other, but this is where it continues to become a nightmare. We're going down into the divot off the side of that mountain. For Clicks and Higgs, they have the biggest advantage, control over the high ground, but Osid, Scared, they're there. Agers and Ritual, they're there as well.
The problem with this is you have to use material in order to, maintain your positioning right now. This is the type of end game you cannot practice for. Agers, Ritual, also starting to fizzle out now. You can see as they're starting to lower themselves gently down the layers here, looking for opportunity into a box. They're trying to send themselves, but no, the defense was good from the opponents there.
Hit,
Higgs being on the other side, loses a lot of shield here, forced to miss up, and Clicks as well. Very desperate situation for Height now. Acorn and Bolts finally attack, and it's theirs to secure.
Wow, Clicks and Higgs read the curve, and Veno played from a mile away. They get the elims, they get the knocks, but in comes Acorn and Bolts while they're distracted. Clicks and Higgs said, nah, you're not going to get it for free. Clicks is literally putting it all on the line. He said this is his FNCS to win if he's going to get it, and he takes down Bolts, leaving Acorn out to solo, but there's still 3 more threats in the mix. Scared, Osid, Ages of Ritual, they're still alive, but Clicks is still focused on the Acorn.
That was disgusting. Clicks goes up, Higgs breaks the foundation, and then they actually take that team down, and now it's their high ground all over again as it bounces back over their original investment here. Now, they haven't picked up a refresher, but they surely have control of the skies right now. Agers and Rituals haven't quite had a time to do anything with the high ground, but they are running things on the low ground. 8 eliminations for them now, but look at the POV here from Clicks and Higgs. It is looking like a breeze fest here to the end game if they can just pressure these lobbies out and use the terrain to their advantage.
Yeah, this is definitely theirs. They're going up the side of the mountain. Another knock onto Ritual. Cooper falls. Ager's alive, and Taki's making a mad dash trying to get inside of the zone, but he falls all the same. Clicks and just cleaning up house here as him and Higgs caught fire in game 2 to take it all.
It's almost feels like back-to-back performances for them right now.
I know only game 2, but
they are
it
showing
looked
us how it is they want to play the grand finals this weekend, and that's Height or nothing. Game 2, though, Zeke, is now wraps.
This is what I was waiting for in finals. The fight for Height, Clicks and Higgs. Kelly, I can't believe it. In 8th zone, they were at it again. They were like, hey, remember our plan from game 1? We're doing that again, but this time, no one will take Height from us. And now we get a game 2 victory royale?
If you have been watching any of the scrims since Heats, you would probably be a little less surprised to see Clicks and Higgs acting this way. This is something that they have prepared for, that they have studied, and you can see through the evolution of literally just over the last 2 weeks, the little adjustments that they're making and controlling Height. And this was honestly a masterclass of those changes that we've seen, where they had Height potentially stolen away from them twice, 3 times in that game, and their ability to just drop down 1 or 2 layers to make sure that they're not necessarily sacrificing Height and have that opportunity to go back and reclaim it again. But honestly, even going back before people are trying to steal Height, even the way that they're just claiming it from the start of Zone 8, where they'll build a tower and they don't actually tarp. If you notice, they'll wait till Zone kind of pulls all the way to the edge, and then they'll launch themselves forward to build a tower to take Height, saving up all those materials that they're going to need for the very end game.
Almost nothing about that game makes sense. Like, it genuinely doesn't. Like, we're watching them, right? They're building up Height from 8th zone. It's like, okay, you need a lot of materials to survive from 8th zone high ground all the way into the end of the game. They ended the game with 4 eliminations. I honestly thought you would need more refreshes. But then if you also take a look at the natural terrain that we were building over and had to kind of, traverse, it was mountainous, right? A lot of like dips and elevation. So you kind of have to account for that. It usually takes a little bit more builds to to build over something like that. So not only did Clicks and Higgs fend off like 7 different teams amongst like an incredible amount of chaos of people just flying above them, and somehow, you know, when the dust settled, they were the ones that ended up on the higher ground, but they also made it work from 8th zone with only 4 eliminations. You got to imagine, like, how do they do that? First 2 games, Clicks and Higgs, they fended off the fight for height. They look good.
Man, and I just don't even know, Viv, how they're just in the air for so long.
Right? It's
Like, dude, they're even getting hit, and it's like, it's just not enough, right? It's just not enough. They land on builds. They're like, everything's fine. We're back to full HP. Don't even worry about it. Clicks and Higgs looking so good. That was game number 2. We're going to a short break. When we come back, we'll take a look at the lobby list and start preparing for the chaos that will be game 3. We'll see you in just a minute. In day number 1, game number 2, Clicks fans, rise up. Our time is now. They get themselves a victory royale in game number 2. Kelly, they went ahead and put the whole lobby on notice. We're here to play. We are here for high ground and high ground only. But there was more that happened in that game, right, Kelly? A bunch of things as we get ready to look at the lobby list. You'd think Clicks and Higgs would be in first place, because I would think that, right? Like, oh yeah, they got a victory royale, but that's not the case, is it, Kelly?
No, it's not, because Agers and Ritual are up on top, and there is a big number that could indicate as to why, and that is their elimination number right there. Currently leading the lobby with 13 eliminations. And yeah, for it just being 2 games, 13 is actually quite high. And of course, that's Agers and Ritual. Like I was saying earlier on at the top of the show, they actually have a higher amount of average eliminations in their Div Cup finals over Peter and Poyo. Agers and Ritual understand what a win condition means. And I don't mean a victory royale condition. I'm talking about the whole tournament. They know exactly what they need to do, Vivid, and they're showing it in our first 2 games.
Zeke completely destroyed Kelly's train of thought right there. That was awesome. Anyway, 10 eliminations for the duo just there in game number 2. As you can see, 7 on Agers, 3 on Ritual. And this is exactly what me and Kelly were kind of talking about. That elim heavy refresh style of gameplay where they try to make it work from the mid ground. Got to give a big shout out though. You want to talk about fighting in the early game. Venno and Curry, we've kind of talked about how, you know, their drop spot, the situation over there, it's been a little bit weird. They kind of having to switch plans, but to me, it doesn't look like they switched plans at all, because to get their Storm Surge, they've basically been taking a couple of 2v2 fights in the early game, even sometimes in the Storm itself. And it's just been working out. You would imagine if you're taking 2v2 fights, you know, the way the Storm Surge works now, it's a damage ratio. So they're taking these 2v2 fights, and they're just not really taking damage in them. How cleanly are they winning those fights?
I mean, if we're taking a look at this height still right now, it definitely was not too clean when you're kind of a little focused on a certain player and everyone else is looking up at you saying, oh, hey, he's just in the air. I'm going to take a few shots. It definitely makes it a little bit harder for you to defend yourself. But you talking about them fighting in Storm, I love that play we got to see from them fighting next to the mending machine, which actually allowed them to fight even longer in Storm and eventually get one of those eliminations. And there again, it's, you know, Venno, he's so smart when he plays, and to see them kind of handling this this change to their drop spot situation and still being able to come out on top, I love to see it.
Yeah, as we bring up those standings, the reason we wanted to highlight them is we just talked about these 13 elims, and remember, we're getting 1 more point per elim, right? First place, Agers Ritual, 13 elims. But as we look at Curve and Venno, they already have 12, right? So we're just missing a handful of like consistency points, and then suddenly we're starting to run up that leaderboard. Cold and Rapid though, again, I feel like, Kelly, we have so much star power, right? We can look at any duo and just be like, yo, they're going crazy, and we probably would be right. But now we're kind of starting to pick up, right? We kind of talked about in that first game, maybe a little slower, a little like subdued. And even now it's a very similar place, right? 7th place, 4th, 8th place, 5 elims. I'm kind of waiting, you know, Kelly, I'm kind of waiting for that ice cold game out of cold.
I think how they play in tournaments is similar to kind of how they play in the end game. They kind of like to play in the mid ground. They love to play for refreshes. And if they need to go for kind of a heavy elim, they'll lock in and they'll go on the low ground. And then that's where we really see them tear. But for me, Cold and Rapid, it's less about how consistent they are and more about these insane pop-off games, Vivid, that we know that both of them individually and as a duo can pull out.
Yeah, so it'd be scary stuff for the leaderboard when we do see one of those games. Got to give a big shout out to Acorn and Bolts. I feel like that game is rough because we saw a little bit of life of them in that game where they actually attempted to go for high ground right there. So it'll be interesting to see over the course of the next 10 games if they're going to kind of continue with that plan. Although I do want to kind of talk about how this whole like lobby and how the kind of lobby plays out. Clicks and Higgs, I feel like they fended off Peterbot in game number 1. I feel like they fended off a lot of teams there in game number 2. You got to imagine at some point, Zeke, these teams are kind of going to get tired of going up for it if Clicks and Higgs are just going to keep beating them at that fight. And eventually it might end up where Clicks and Higgs just have high ground for free. Kind of something to think about.
Yeah, man. Like you're pointing out the amount of players that have gone up to fight for it. Like, I think in any other circumstance we've seen that, it's like that team usually just like, okay, hey, my bad, like you guys can have it. But Clicks and Higgs, they are holding on, Kelly. It's looking nice.
It's looking good, Zeke, but you know what else is looking good? Game 3.
That's right, Fortnite fam, it's game time. Buckle up. Game number 3 starts now.
Thank you. And yeah, just like that, we're approaching game 3 already. Finals days tend to go pretty quickly, but one thing's for certain, Jacob, it's too early to call anything just yet.
Yeah, I'm already kind of getting my wish. I said I just want game 12 to matter when it's all said and done. Already a 1-point difference, proving that history lesson we gave might come true. And this is going to be an exciting time to kind of see it. Will Clicks and Higgs continue to play for the high ground? Aegis and Ritual, will they wake up? Or Peterbot and Pollo. Teams right now are poking the bear. We know what type of team they could turn into day 2.
Yeah, one thing's underrated is those elimination points are starting to rack up. You're earning more for your value here when you get eliminations. So seeing someone like Aegis and Rituals up at the top just because they managed to pop off in that last game, they definitely are being rewarded there on the standings. But one thing's for certain, Peterbot and Pollo don't usually get lobbied like that. So we'll see what they're going to change up here for game number 3.
A lot of consistency coming out of Clicks and Higgs so far throughout 2 games. Aegis and Ritual as well, their first place on the leaderboard. Already locking down a 2nd and a 13th with 13 total eliminations. You gotta like what Curve and Veno are doing as well. Just kind of keeping it close, and that's gonna be the interesting thing of how the day ends today. Really has control of how you get to play tomorrow.
You know, one thing about Fortnite is there is a little bit of luck involved. You know, when you went back and saw the highlights, I actually can't believe Higgs survived the way he did. That should have been Veno and Curve's game right there. I'm just going to say that for the record, as Paper and Resi are getting active right now at their drop here, Jacob. Not to distract us too much, but yeah, that highlight really showed us how lucky Clicks and Higgs were there.
Yeah. Back to this fight, though, you know, Paper... That was almost a must-win as Tyler and Chance taking down Electro and Ulk early on the south side of Battlewood Boulevard. Actually, elimination probably spinning. It does look like Toronto somewhere else on the map kind of stole that one away. So they're only going to get the 1 elimination, 4 points, but they are going to get most of that loot out of the elimination. That's Toronto and Slips. Further down south outside of Battlewood, kind of split the drop down there towards the bottom. Just kind of take those little opportunities while you can. That's kind of the name of the game.
Nice little elim for them, given that they're playing the coastal line. Back on over to the Painted Palms here. Blanks and Mako, again, managed to find a nice little victory there coming out of their heats category. Team to their north, though. Again, you're going to find a lot of duos trying to hold down the vending machines at the POIs. They're basically death traps. You got to be super careful when approaching those areas. Raven CDZ coming off a hot little victory of an early game battle for themselves, but wasn't able to convert anything else after that game too.
Almost feels like for them, they've been almost 3 different drops throughout the 3 games that we've seen so far. Top side of the map, we saw them take on Dozier and Ishu, go against Chris and Drew, and now against Threats and Beer. Just trying to find their spot on a map like this is not going to be the easiest thing, especially a team like Threats and Beer who just want to rid everyone out of their POI. It's a legendary POI, so you can see exactly why they're fighting. More loot, more gold, more opportunity if they're able to get it to themselves. If they could go through at least 1 box of pizza. While Threats heals, Veer is kind of putting the pressure down so that way they can't easily turn and burn to try to take down Threats in a 2v1.
See what Raven and CDZs can take away from this finals as a whole. because they're starting to notice, I think, that you can't just be too flexible on the lobby. You will encounter incredibly talented players everywhere you go. And even now, one might argue that this is an even better team in 13v. Monster shot for him there to finish up with the assistance of a team and the Rip Tides there. And just like that, they get sent back to the lobby.
Yeah, I gotta imagine that was HQ and Encrypted from their lighthouse just west of Squibbly. For them, it's not even necessarily about the elimination. For HQ Encrypted, it's just the early game Storm Surge. You can kind of see cut halfway through Battlewood Boulevard, the zone is already pushing teams towards the north side of the map. And that gives a little bit of a cushion here for Veno and Curve to do these lurk plays just like this. We saw it in the last game. We're going to see it here again. Curve probably trying to distract Tyler and Chance from the distance, saying, hey, they're nowhere to be found on this side, and that gives Veno a little bit of a lurk opportunity.
I always keep eyes on what Veno's up to. It's one of the most decorated players, one who tends to come in with an extreme amount of preparation. It's always something to learn. Always something up these elite pros' sleeves, of course. For Clicks and Higgs, things are just business as usual here at the Wonky Land. You got Higgs on watch up top. Meanwhile, back to Veno. Just when you think it's safe, you never know.
This is a long investment in time right now from Veno. Up above, you got Curve lurking around, so they got basically all the important exits locked down. Veno watching the whole other side of that building, probably getting the audio visuals as well. A lot of information for him to keep to himself. And it's just the patience here is going to be the biggest thing. Does he try to go in and make a play by himself, especially with how far Curve actually is? You could use a shockwave to cut the distance, but anything can happen in a quick couple of seconds for Tyler and Chance. Great heads-up play for them. They probably realize what Veno and Curve do, how they play and lurk around the entire POI, whether they're contested or not.
G.
So better safe than sorry.
You know it's coming.
Of course, they're just
something.
trying to get that critical medal, right? So
When
Veno
Peter Bot
recognizes
said
this.
fuck it,
He knows an
we need
opportunity
to
is just
fuck
moments
it.
away. Boyo,
Awful.
Peter Bot on the other side.
you know it's
Trying
coming.
to get their medal in order as well. Preparing for the mid-game. Peter Bot eyeing up a team in the distance. It's going to be Muzzled Sphinx right now. Couple tags come out.
Yep, both
Those
that
are
way.
tags
Yep.
that Peter Bot will just not miss.
Yeah, a little bit of a different game this time around. Does look like it's going to continue to go towards the north, over towards Wonky Land, maybe the north side of the map, Frigid Fortress. So Peter Bot Poyo do have access to that rift if they do want to use it. Haven't really seen it in play too much so far on the day, but sometimes you got to save the tricks to when you do need it most. Ages of Ritual, you can see some of their early games so far throughout the first two. It was Storm Surge early because they're not contested and the surrounding land isn't as contested as it usually is. They're just going to have to hunt for that Storm Surge rather than sit in the zone.
Got a couple highlights though. This is one from Listen and Aloe's duo. Oh, they find someone fresh off the reboot. Quick finish there, and then of course they're gonna go into Collapse on the solo. Just like that, they earn their first set of points here in the finals lobby. Jumping back to Paper though. Paper went from early eliminations at the drop now to fight Bucky and Zen here. Bucky's in big danger. Zen forced to back him up right now, give him a little bit of room to work with.
Paper and Resi have been rotating north to end up in this position. Vending Machine is right there, so you can kind of see what their focus is. Resi doesn't have a ton of gold, so it's not really going to get much out of it. You got to hope Paper has the lion's share of that one. But they're just really trying to control this whole side of the map. But for Bucky and Zen, you see empty item slots, not a lot of builds, not a lot of heals. They're in a drastic situation. Maybe not in a spot to where they start to get desperate, but they have to start thinking what plan B is going to be.
I was gonna say, remember, Pewterbot and Poyo were desperate for Surge last game. Look at the adjustment in their strategy. They find a duo that seems to be somewhat isolated from the rest of the rotate, and now they're going in hyper aggressively.
Run from one team to the next. A lot of teams on the north side of the map, for some reason, making their way down south. You can see the drop is there. Almost a little bit more of a reward outside of the elimination. But Poyo lands the first big shot to try to break things up. Peterbot is going ahead and putting pressure, cleaning up that elimination, easing up that Storm Surge pressure here. You called it out. Last game wasn't the best game for them in terms of Storm Surge. In fact, it was almost a reason why they went down early, got lobby focused. Now with that elimination there, they're going to be able to claim that drop to themselves and maybe even move back to their POI.
Yeah, and the speed of which they can finish a fight is definitely the difference maker from them to a more average pro team. Jumping in with Cold and Rapid here. We got a little update with the situation. You talk about that mythic shotgun in hand. It's definitely a power loadout here. Ooh, Cold with a quick 2-piece right there. That's a plus 50 for them.
Who's counting up on the surge for them? 110 points so far throughout 2 games. Cold and Rapid in 4th place, but just like the first and second place point differential, you got Visuals and Braids right underneath at 109. They won our first game of the day, really setting the tone and the pace that everybody has to follow up on. It's definitely not going to be easy. Wagers and Slepsy rotating on over towards Riptide. They used to land here, but didn't want to end up in a disadvantaged fight, so they went ahead and went elsewhere as Flex goes down, leaving Light by himself. Plenty of heals in the Chug Jug and the Splashes to get up 200 effective shield and HP. Nut has the same comfortability with the Slapperoni Pizza on the other side, but it's a 1v1 with the zone pulling further and further away. Even if they win this fight, they got to find the time to get the reboot.
Finding reboot's always difficult as well. It just attracts so much attention to you. And look at this. Talk about attention being drawn. There's a team moving in hot from the west side already now. Light and Flex are on a timer. I mean, obviously we know Light's by himself. He's got to wrap this one up or Nut's got to fight back, but they can't. It'll be the end for both of them. It's actually Penta and Power who are lurking up and in now.
Big advantage though for Light. In terms of the solo players, he does have a lot of the HP heals, but Power and Penta crouching, hiding, but they get a big Elim onto Light. A worthwhile Elim. Look at Power's inventory before and after. Now they're getting a bunch of materials, a bunch of extra heals, the Splashes and the Chug Jug. Even though they don't necessarily stacked out in terms of shockwaves, they came for what they wanted and they got it, and now they're just continuing on with the rest of their game. Hopefully they can find a safe spot in zone so this is actually worth it.
I'm just laughing. I'm thinking, like, put myself in Nut's position where he's like, oh my gosh, and he just stops moving. He's got his pizza out. He's like, bruh, please. And then they leave. So he gets really lucky. Bailed out a desperate spot there. And you know he's got the reboot card, so they will get to continue their tournament life here. Acorn and Bolts, completely different situation here. Much more chill scenario on hand. Pretty much just camping the launch pads right now.
Okay, where was the
With the
Soto?
zone on top of them,
Because
so nothing to worry about right now.
and not to do Soto
This
focus.
get a little spooky. Speaking about Pollo, yeah, this is where they actually kind of land for the most part. They have the slurp trucks that's there, the mending machine, and we saw Peterbot farm up a lot of his metal. Quick moment there where you said it yourself, looking dangerous with Curve and Veno rotating nearby. We saw the sheer amount of lurks throughout the first 2 games so far, using the mending machines as a distraction for teams, and that's how they picked up not only damage but eliminations. Probably seeing how far the zone is actually pulling towards the north, so instead of waiting, they probably realized they already have some good surge eliminations early, so they're trying to beat every other team to the punch.
Yeah, I'm just thinking they got spider senses like Curve and Veno reading the situation like, nah, maybe not this team. Let's just go go to this storm. It's going to be the best decision they make in this game, that's for sure. A clash for Peterbot and Pollo when there's 700 above the surge is not the type of Peterbot and Pollo you want to fight right now. Not in this game, not in this lobby. Love that we got to see a little glimpse of Osid and Scare's position there. That sleeper duo that has been creeping up the standings bit by bit. Mako and Blanks, though. Quite the rotate for them to make here. Carillion, meanwhile, whoa. Nice little knock out the sky there. Someone's fired up.
I'm always a what have you done for me lately type of guy, and honestly, in the short span that Jargu and Carillion have played together, Monster, they have won 3 games in set lobbies through their heat, or through the last chance qualifier and the eval finals. So even though right now they're sitting on 40 points, I wouldn't necessarily be too worried. This team can pull out some insane moments and victories, just unfortunate. They are contested at the far eastern side of the map, going against Sniper Dude and Avenger. So not every game is going to be guaranteed. Just goes to show Carillion taking advantage of those little opportunities while you can. Peter Bot and Pollo, they did clean up a few eliminations here. We saw one early, one in the feed, and you can see they're rotating away from Tyler and Chance. Already up towards the zone, but they're going to where they think it is going to open up and give them a little bit more cushion in terms of spacing.
Nice little find right there to get the chug barrels. But I did want to say, you know, 40 points is still in the race. Like, remember, the real winners are who's going to land, who's in top 13 when this is all said and done. So if you're 40 points, you're 60 points like Cooper and Ree. I mean, you're in the conversation right now. Your shoes are tied, you know, you're on the track here. You gotta respect it so far. But again, this is only game 3, right? We're about halfway through day 1.
Quarter of the game's already completed. You can kind of see Cooper, Ree, trying to see if anybody else is going to make a late rotation off the side of that mountain. They're ready and waiting for it to happen. QK and Khan, 57 below the damage threshold. Right now, it is going to be a 2-tick, but that's going to quickly switch on over to a 5-tick. So timing is of the essence to get in towards the zone. So they don't necessarily have to rush for the Storm Surge. QK does anyway. Not only gets the elimination, but puts them above the damage threshold. And it's usually when you're on that line, Monster, teams get desperate and they start to make mistakes. So glad to see them already answer the call.
Yeah, their timing couldn't have been better. Like, the zone pulls to their side. So many teams are exiting from the Wadki land, storm into the edge, kind of congested positioning there. And I want to update from Clicks and Higgs as well. Like, this is their drop, right? This is the dream scenario. You're in the lead point-wise. Then you get the whole zone to land on top of your POI when you normally play natural high ground. This is a crazy development happening in general right now for Game 3. Bolts and Acorn have invested a lot to get to the safety here. And look at this, not a lot of heals to work with, so the pizza box comes out. This is obviously, I'd say, the best heal, right, like in the game right now, for sure, as far as quick heals are concerned.
Look at the background. Creon went down, almost held my breath, thought it was somebody else for a moment. Paper is going to be knocked as well. A couple of players left as solos in some big moments here. No bigger moment than this for Rezi. 348 below the damage threshold. Rezi literally put the team on his back just to get this spot in finals. 2 games gone already. 341. Quickly has to start to make a play. 15 players need to go down. He might have an opportunity to out-heal this monster. 2 pizza slices, 3 med kits. He does have a full chug jug as well. I just wouldn't necessarily advise it as a solo.
This is crazy because while we've been watching Rezi, just to his bottom left, you have Veno and Curve, and I saw Curve pick up 2 eliminations, by the way. So Rezi's trying to find opportunity, and then you have someone like Curve just lacing up the lobby, and all the chances that might have been his in his general vicinity. So it couldn't be worse for Rezi right now. For Clicks and Higgs, though, this is the update I wanted. 500 above. They have no worries in the world right now in maximum material. What a clean rotate here. They're not quite safe just yet, but plenty of time to work with. No pressure right now for our position leaders for the most part.
It's fucking started then.
This is where we could start to see an interesting end game. You see all the trees, Monster? You see every single one of those trees. Well, the thick ones, they have a huge amount of HP, and you can connect to them as well in this end game. And more of them as we go towards the south are going to be in play. So we're going to have teams that not only can contest the high ground, can hold on to it for longer than usual. Cold and Rapid try to make their way in, moving forward, almost running to Peterbot and Pollo as they're almost 1,000 damage above the threshold. Monster, this is one thing that you wanted to pay close attention to, and right now, from one game to the next, this is night and day here for Peterbot and Pollo.
Yeah, definitely. They're playing aggressive right now. It's almost as if they say, or are feeling like they need to earn a bunch of points if they want to stay competitive for first place. And they're playing like someone owes them something right now, big time. Meanwhile, Curve, though, as exceptional as he has been, he's lost Veno on the rotate here, so he's not
who
left by
won
himself.
that?
Meanwhile, you look to high ground, and look who it is. My. It's not a bird. It's Clicks. It's Higgs up top right now, getting position.
Just like in a couple of the other games, I stopped asking myself when I see certain players going up the high ground, is it too early? I think Clicks and Higgs have proved it's never too early for them to try to take that high ground, especially in a zone like this where you have all those trees that you can actually attach to maintain your position on height. But for now, Clicks and Higgs just continue to look down below, realize the zone is going to force players not only out of their boxes, but to shockwave from point A to point B, and that's going to be the best chances they to beam people out of the sky. You see a good amount of damage landing onto Cold before he gets to the front side of the zone.
And you saw the hesitation there, just trying to see if Rapid was with them. Fortunately, he ends up on a different layer there for a second, but reunited now. Looking to kind of reposition, refresh up. Up top, Clix and Higgs have this juggernaut of a positioning over the rest of the lobby, connected to that big trunk of the tree there, and they're just so high up that no one's going to be able to contest them, I don't think. So they might just be able to waltz their way into the end game. Muzz, Sphinx here fighting for what they can do right now. They're starting to run out of material though, Jacob. This is getting really desperate for Muzz and Sphinx.
Yeah, but you can see Muzz just sliding through a couple of those closed boxes before he gets in zone. Clix and Higgs continue to elevate themselves higher and higher because they know the shockwave with the Fizz, anybody can contest that high ground in a moment's notice. We've already seen it throughout 2 games so far as Peterbot peaks at the perfect time, finds another knock. Elimination going to be cleaned up elsewhere. Even Sphinx going down. Acorn cleans up another elimination. You see threats going down in the corner. It just goes to show that these players that are on that mid layer are just bumping heads back and forth just to get inches in a game that seems a mile long.
Finally, Cold and Rapid get their first eliminations here in the end game. Bit uncharacteristic of them to not have a several set of elims right now, given how they like to play aggressively in these end games. But don't count them out just yet. Peterbot, Boyo continue to turn up here as well. Living off the refreshes right now. They have Osid in sight. They take them down so quickly. You can run, but you can't hide. Boya and Peterbot for the first time playing side by side in the end game, and what feels like the entirety of today. Visuals, Braids on the other side, coming off that victory royale now. Still trying to maintain momentum here, but when you look to the high ground, not a soul has decided to contest Clix and Higgs just yet.
Dude.
Yeah, I don't think there's very many opportunities. The way they have
But
to set
the
up as well,
button
that
is-
one's clean. Poyo almost gets blocked off away from Peterbot,
the
but
button
he's
is-
not letting go. He's not
Well,
giving
the
up on
button
his
stay
teammates,
alive,
saying there's a
but
huge strength in numbers.
if
We have to make
Peterbot
it count.
look
Cole
up,
gets another elimination as
knows
well. You said
that
it. There are
kid.
4 eliminations here, and they're looking for a couple more. Top 14 situation. There are 5 solo players running around this lobby. Make it 6 as another one gets separated. And you notice still not a single person has even looked up or even built a single box higher.
gosh.
And that's because of Clix and Higgs and constant
and
pressure from
Peterbot
above.
I'm
put
just
to
looking at
die
Cold right now.
at then.
He went from no elims to now 6 and a knock body down below. He needs that siphon to turn online.
How
But
much kill
now,
kid in
if he
heads
wants
up?
to stay alive here, there goes the mini shields to keep him in the game. Meanwhile, Peterbot in the bottom right is by himself, trying to clutch this one up right now. It's been the Boyo solo show all week long, and now it's up to Peterbot to show us what he's got.
Yep, 1 shockwave left by Bill. Definitely is trying to pick the perfect moment to strike. Using the Fizz for the utility, not necessarily the shield. Cold is finally gone down. Rapid stuck outside of the zone. Acorn trying to cut off the path of Braids, but Braids takes him down. These trades going back and forth. 8 teams remain, but that's making 7 teams remain, Monster. 9 players in this game. Almost everybody left alive is solos. Rapid probably feeling the pressure. Gets a huge elimination. Peterbot as well, but he's out of builds. Huge flank onto one. Almost gets chance down before he gets demolished himself.
A sliver of HP, and Peterbot would have
Beacon?
had it and earned a little bit more, but Clix and Higgs are here on the high ground. They're looking to get
One
another
on-
victory royale
Oh
here
my
now.
God.
They want it more than everyone else. Rapid
Oh
to solo.
my
He
God.
gets finished up. Higgs is the one who does the job in the end there. And game 3, Jacob, lets Clix and Higgs off to the races.
Already, Monster, we have our first back-to-back victory royales from Clix and Higgs. They got their wonky land uncontested, and they're putting it to use, Zeke.
This is not a drill. Clix and Higgs won back-to-back games in Major 1 finals. We're doing it! Kelly,
did
it's
someone-
happening!
I feel like someone ordered some pizza, and Clix and Higgs are just the delivery drivers right now because they're holding on to those slices throughout the entire end game. I mean, I appreciate the pizza party. Who doesn't love that? But Clix and Higgs right now on high ground are having a party for 2. They are just absolutely dominating. And Vivid, you called it out. You said the word conditioning, and they conditioned the lobby, and it's only game number 3.
Absolutely. I mean, it's crazy. Like you mentioned, it seemed like it was so chaotic over the course of game number 1, game number 2. Everybody wanted a little piece of the high ground. They were flying up. It seemed impossible to control. In game 3, it was a breeze. Nobody looked up. I don't even know what was going on in that lobby. We were so busy watching the eliminations that were kind of happening on the lower ground. People were going crazy down there, and Clicks and Higgs, you know, again, one of those situations where what did they end the game with right there? Like 3 eliminations. I know I saw they had 2 in like 11 zone. No real refreshes are coming in, and they are somehow tarping the entirety of these end games from 8th zone throughout. Nobody's looking up, Kelly.
I will say though, they're not tarping, and they keep doing that where they're actually split and they're kind of creating these 2 towers where Clicks will launch forward at the front of zone and they don't tarp over, which kind of saves their materials. It's now allowing Clicks to kind of get these refreshes or at least get some shots onto low ground. It's amazing, Zeke. And again, this is just halfway through day 1.
Can we get the back 3 back? That's all I want. That's all I want, back 3 back. Fortnite fan, we hope you are enjoying all of the action. That was game number 3. We still have 3 to go.
It's
First, a break.
fucking
When we
happening.
come back, we're gonna take a look at this lobby list. You're about to be in
The
shock.
fuck?
Come on.